If you're a platform architect or an engineer, you know this feeling. You live this tension every single day. The business wants to move faster, 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 but your job is to keep everything secure. So how in the world do you build a platform that lets developers innovate at lightning speed without, just opening the floodgates to every risk imaginable? Well, today we're going to build the answer to that. We're going to build the iron perimeter.
Okay, let's get right into it. This is the fundamental push and pull that honestly, every single one of us in this role faces. It's the core challenge that really defines what we do.
For way too long, we've been told this is a zero-sum game, right? It's one or the other. Either you let the developers fly free and just hope for the best, or you lock everything down so tight that innovation just grinds to a halt. But what if that's a false choice? The real magic of modern platform engineering is figuring out how to get both at the same time.
I mean, just look at this. On one side, you have everything that dev teams are pushing for: autonomy, fast deployments, quick iteration. And on the other, you have what the platform needs: compliance, mitigating risk, central governance. They look like they're pulling in completely opposite directions. But, and this is the key, a well-architected platform can take this conflict and turn it into a seriously powerful partnership.
All right, so that's the theory. But theory is one thing. Let's see how this whole thing actually plays out in the real world. Let's jump into a story that's probably going to feel very, very familiar to a lot of you. So meet Alex. Alex is a great developer, super smart, and totally focused on shipping a really critical new feature. Of course, the deadline is tight. The pressure is on. What's Alex's #1 goal? Get it done. And the task itself seems simple enough, right? It's a pretty standard job. Alex just needs to get the app's images, the CSS files, and the JavaScript hosted somewhere so users can, actually see the new feature. So, feeling the pressure, Alex goes for what seems like the path of least resistance. Just spin up an S3 bucket and make it public. It is absolutely the fastest way to get those assets online. It's also, and I cannot stress this enough, a classic and incredibly dangerous security mistake on AWS.
But then, this happens. Bam! A hard stop. No warning message, no negotiation. Just a flat-out nope. Alex is just slammed face-first into the perimeter.
So, what was that? That wasn't a bug. That wasn't a glitch. That was the platform working exactly as it was designed to. Let's take a look at the very first layer of our iron perimeter. The answer isn't a person sitting somewhere clicking deny. It's not some manual ticket review process. No. It's something way more powerful and way more scalable. It's a preventative control. And this is such a core idea. Preventative controls don't just warn you about mistakes, they make them literally impossible to make. It's proactive security. You're not running around cleaning up messes later, you're just preventing the mess from ever being made in the first place. I want you to think of these controls as the literal iron walls of your platform. Some actions, like creating a public S3 bucket, are just so universally risky that you decide as an organization, we're just not going to allow that. Period. End of story. So how do you actually build these walls? Well, here's how it works. It all starts at the very top with your AWS organization. You create something called a service control policy, or an SCP, that just flat out denies the ability to make S3 buckets public. Then you apply that policy way up high, maybe to a whole organizational unit full of dev accounts. And here's the magic. That policy is inherited by every single account underneath it. It becomes an unbreakable rule. So even if Alex is a full admin in their own little account, it doesn't matter. The SCP from above trumps everything. It is a non-negotiable foundational rule of the road.
But hang on, what about actions that aren't so black and white? Things that are risky but not something you want to forbid outright. You can't just block everything. So, what happens then? Well, let's get back to Alex, who still has that deadline.
Now, Alex is clever. The S3 path was a dead end, so Alex pivots, deploys the app on an EC2 instance, and, to get things working fast, opens up a security group to the entire internet, 0.0.0.0/0. Another extremely common and extremely risky configuration.
And this time, it actually works. The command succeeds, the resource is created, and for a second, it really looks like Alex has found a way around the perimeter.
But the perimeter is more than just walls. The very instant that non-compliant security group pops into existence, an alarm goes off somewhere. This is our second layer of defense, kicking into high gear.
So, if preventative controls are the walls, then detective controls, these are the watchtowers. They are constantly scanning your entire environment. And the very second they spot something that violates your security rules, they raise the alarm.
And this is what your security team or your platform team sees. An automated, immediate alert, probably from a service like AWS Config, all nicely rolled up in AWS Security Hub. This isn't a manual spot check that happens once a quarter. No, this is a real-time, actionable finding that points you to the exact resource that's out of line, right now.
So, here's the most important point. A truly robust iron perimeter isn't just one thing. It's this beautiful combination of two strategies working together. You've got the unbreachable walls to stop the absolute worst offenses, and you've got the all-seeing watchtowers to catch everything else. Let's put this all together into a clear blueprint you can use.
This right here, this is your blueprint. It all starts with AWS organizations, so you can manage everything from one place. You use SCPs to build those preventative walls, setting hard limits on what's even possible. Then you use standardized IAM roles to enforce least privilege, so nobody has more access than they absolutely need. Next, you layer on your detective watchtowers with AWS config rules, which are always on, always monitoring. And finally, you bring it all home with AWS Security Hub, which gives you that single pane of glass to see your entire security posture. This is the foundation of a real deal iron perimeter.
And this brings us right back to that core idea from the beginning. This whole iron perimeter, it isn't about slowing Alex down. It's about giving Alex the confidence to move fast because they know there are guardrails in place to keep them safe. When your security is baked in, not just bolted on at the end, it stops being a blocker and it becomes an enabler. So the question is no longer about what you need to restrict. With a foundation this secure, the question becomes, what amazing things will you empower your teams to build next?